Your soul will watch everything your family does after you die, not from some distant heaven, not through mystical visions, but as a conscious observer, present in your home, witnessing every conversation, every decision, every moment of grief or conflict. It's true, you all. Our dead relatives don't leave completely the moment we throw sand on them. This video is going to challenge you or even shock you. But here's what will shock you most. How your family handles your departure will either comfort your soul during its most vulnerable period or cause you unimaginable spiritual distress when you're powerless to intervene. Right now, families around the world are being watched by souls who can see everything but change nothing. Some souls experience profound peace as they witness love and unity. Others endure spiritual agony as they watch their legacy torn apart. What will your soul witness when your time comes? This story doesn't begin in a funeral home or lawyer's office. It begins in a modest apartment in Cairo, where a soul named Ahmad is discovering the devastating truth about death, that dying is just the beginning of a 40-day journey where you'll see exactly who your family really is. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications because what you're about to learn will change how you treat every family member while you still have time. 3 days ago, Ahmad Mahmoud closed his eyes for the final time in a hospital bed, surrounded by his wife Layla, his 2 sons Yusuf and Omar, and his daughter Amira. To the medical team, he was gone. Heart stopped, brain activity ceased, case closed. But Ahmad's consciousness didn't disappear. Instead, he found himself standing beside his own body, watching his family's initial reactions with perfect clarity. He could see their faces, hear their whispered conversations, feel their emotions. But he couldn't speak, couldn't touch them, couldn't let them know he was still there. This is the reality Islamic sources revealed 1,400 years ago. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, explained, "When a person dies, his soul is taken up to the heavens, but it returns to earth and remains connected to the deceased's body for 40 days. 40 days of conscious observation. 40 days of watching how your family really handles your departure. As Ahmad's family left the hospital that first night, his soul followed them home. He watched his wife Layla collapse on their bed, clutching his pillow and sobbing. He saw his daughter Amira making phone calls to distant relatives, her voice breaking as she shared the news. These moments brought Ahmad's soul profound comfort. He could feel their genuine grief, their love for him, their struggle to imagine life without him. Islamic teachings explain that souls derive strength from the sincere emotions of their loved ones during this vulnerable transition period. But then Ahmad witnessed something that filled him with dread. The next morning, his sons Yusuf and Omar arrived at the family home, not to comfort their mother, but to discuss practical matters. Ahmad watched in horror as they began evaluating his possessions, estimating values, discussing how to divide assets. His soul could hear every word, feel every mercenary thought, witness every moment of greed disguised as responsibility. While their father's body was still at the morgue, his sons were already planning how to claim his life's work. The Imam Ahmad documented authentic narrations where the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "The deceased hears the footsteps of those who carry his bier." But hearing extends far beyond the funeral. Departed souls perceive everything their families do, say, and think during the crucial 40-day period. Every argument over inheritance while the soul watches helplessly. Every lie told about the deceased's wishes. Every moment of selfishness displayed when people think no one is observing. Your soul will witness all of it. Ahmad's spiritual agony intensified as he watched his family's true nature emerge over the following days. During the funeral, they performed their grief publicly. Tears, embraces, eloquent speeches about his character and legacy. But Ahmad could see through their performances. He knew which tears were genuine and which were calculated. He felt the difference between sincere sorrow and social obligation. He watched family members who had ignored him for years suddenly claiming to be his closest confidants. The soul knows the truth behind every facade. Islamic scholar Ibn al-Qayyim documented extensive research on this phenomenon. According to authentic sources, during the 40-day period, souls can perceive not just actions but intentions. They experience either comfort or distress based on the sincerity of their family's behavior. Ahmad's soul found brief respite when he witnessed genuine moments. His daughter Amira spent hours sorting through his books, reading passages he had highlighted, crying over marginalia he had written. She wasn't calculating value. She was connecting with his memory, honoring his intellectual legacy. His wife Layla refused to let anyone touch his prayer rug, preserving it exactly as he had left it. She would sit beside it every evening, making dua for his soul, asking Allah's forgiveness for any mistakes he might have made. These sincere acts brought waves of peace to Ahmad's consciousness. The Prophet, peace be upon him, revealed, "When you pray for the deceased, angels carry your supplications directly to their soul. These prayers become light and comfort during their transition." But sincere prayers were overwhelmed by the family conflict Ahmad was forced to witness. By the end of the first week, his sons had escalated from quiet discussions to open arguments. Yusuf claimed their father had promised him the family business. Omar insisted he deserved the house since he was the eldest. Both ignored their mother's legal rights and their sister's emotional needs. Ahmad's soul writhed in spiritual agony as he watched his life's work become a battlefield. He had worked decades to build something meaningful, sacrificing personal pleasures to create security for his family. Now he watched helplessly as his sons destroyed family relationships for money, treating his legacy like a business transaction. This is why Islamic teachings emphasize the spiritual impact of family behavior during the 40-day period. Souls don't just observe passively, they experience emotional and spiritual consequences from everything they witness. Family unity brings comfort during vulnerable transition. Family conflict creates distress when souls are powerless to intervene. Your family's behavior after your death will either ease or torment your soul. Ahmad's situation worsened during the second week when legal documents were discovered. His will was clear, but his sons began questioning its validity, hiring lawyers to challenge provisions they disliked. Ahmad watched his final wishes being dismantled by the very people he had worked to provide for. He saw his wife Layla's health deteriorating under the stress of legal battles. He witnessed his daughter Amira caught between loyalty to her mother and pressure from her brothers. He observed extended family members taking sides, fracturing relationships that had lasted generations, all while his soul remained trapped as a helpless observer. But the spiritual torture intensified when Ahmad witnessed how his sons spoke about him in private. They criticized decisions he had made, questioned values he had held, dismissed principles he had lived by. They were rewriting his legacy to justify their greed. When people asked about their father's wishes, his sons would lie, claiming he had expressed different intentions privately. When community members praised Ahmad's character, his sons would hint at flaws and failures only they knew about. Ahmad's soul experienced each betrayal like physical pain. Islamic sources reveal that souls can be deeply hurt by negative things said about them during the 40-day period. Just as sincere prayers bring comfort, harsh criticism and false accusations cause spiritual distress. The words "your family speaks about you after death" directly impact your soul's experience. Ahmad found his only comfort in watching his wife and daughter maintain their integrity despite the pressure. Layla refused to speak badly about him, even when her sons tried to recruit her to their side. Amira defended his memory when others criticized him. These acts of loyalty provided spiritual strength during his darkest moments, but the worst was yet to come. During the third week, Ahmad witnessed something that filled him with despair. His sons had convinced a relative to claim that Ahmad had verbally changed his will before death, wanting to give them larger shares. Ahmad watched his own family members commit perjury to steal from their mother and sister. He had raised these men, taught them right from wrong, sacrificed for their education and opportunities. Now he watched them destroy everything he valued: honesty, family unity, respect for the vulnerable, all for money. His soul felt the spiritual weight of their sins as if they were his own failures. This reveals a profound teaching from Islamic sources. The spiritual connection between souls and their families during the 40-day period means that family members' sins can cause additional distress to the departed soul. When your family behaves badly after your death, your soul suffers the consequences. Not because you're responsible for their choices, but because the spiritual bond during this transition period means their actions affect your emotional and spiritual state. This is why preparation for death isn't just about your own spiritual condition, it's about preparing your family to honor your memory properly. As Ahmad's 40-day period neared its end, the legal battles had destroyed his family. His sons weren't speaking to each other. His wife had developed serious health problems from stress. His daughter was considering cutting ties with her brothers entirely. Everything Ahmad had built, everything he had worked for, lay in ruins. His soul realized that his life's greatest achievement, a loving, united family, had been an illusion. The values he thought he had instilled, the character he believed he had modeled, the legacy he hoped to leave, all of it crumbled when tested by his absence. This is the terrifying truth about death. It reveals who your family really is. When the person who held everyone together is gone, when the authority figure can no longer enforce unity, when the provider can no longer meet everyone's needs, that's when authentic character emerges. Some families demonstrate love, sacrifice, and integrity. Others reveal greed, selfishness, and betrayal. On the 40th day after Ahmad's death, his soul experienced the final transition. Islamic sources describe this as the moment when the soul's earthly connection becomes limited, when its direct observation of family life ends. Ahmad's last earthly vision was of his fractured family, still fighting in courtrooms over money. His wife, Layla, now frail and isolated. His daughter, Amira, heartbroken by her brother's behavior. His sons, wealthy from their legal victories but spiritually impoverished by their choices. See Ahmad's soul carried into eternity. The experience reveals why Islamic teachings emphasize that death preparation isn't just individual, it's familial. The way your family handles your departure becomes part of your soul's experience. You need to prepare them while you're still alive. This means having difficult conversations about your wishes, your values, your expectations for how they should treat each other after you're gone. It means modeling the behavior you want them to demonstrate when you're no longer there to guide them. Most importantly, it means recognizing that your family's character will be tested by your absence, and that test results will impact your soul's 40-day transition experience. Are your family members prepared to honor your memory with integrity? Do they understand that their behavior after your death will either comfort or torment your observing soul? Have you taught them that family unity matters more than money? Do they know that lies about your wishes will cause you spiritual pain? These aren't just practical considerations, they're spiritual necessities. The reality is that many families fail this test. Death brings out people's worst impulses: greed, jealousy, revenge, selfishness. The person who could have guided them through these temptations is gone, leaving them to navigate complex emotions and practical decisions without wisdom or restraint. Your soul will witness every moral failure, every ethical compromise, every act of betrayal. But it will also witness every act of love, every moment of integrity, every choice to honor your memory properly. The question is, which will your family choose? The answer depends largely on how you prepare them now, while you still have influence over their character development and relationship dynamics. If you're currently neglecting family relationships, expecting inheritance conflicts, or avoiding difficult conversations about death and legacy, you're setting your soul up for potential spiritual torment. But if you're actively building family unity, modeling proper values, and preparing your loved ones to handle your departure with grace, you're creating conditions for your soul's comfort during its most vulnerable period. This knowledge should transform how you approach family relationships. Every unresolved conflict becomes a potential source of post-death spiritual distress. Every lesson unlearned by your children becomes a risk factor for their future moral failures. Every value you fail to instill becomes a missing protection when they're tested by your absence. Your family's character after your death reflects your life's true success or failure. Professional achievements, financial accumulations, public recognition, none of that matters if your family destroys itself fighting over your legacy. The ultimate measure of your life is how your loved ones treat each other when you're no longer there to guide them. Ahmad's story could be different. Your story can be different, but only if you act now, while you still have time to influence the people who will determine your soul's post-death experience. Start difficult conversations, resolve old conflicts, model the behavior you want them to demonstrate. Teach them that honoring the dead means preserving family unity, speaking truthfully about the deceased, and prioritizing relationships over possessions. Prepare them to be the family you want your soul to witness. Modern research accidentally confirms aspects of this Islamic teaching. Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross observed that family dynamics often determine whether death becomes a source of growth or destruction for survivors. Some families emerge from loss stronger and more unified, she noted. Others fracture permanently. The difference usually lies in the values and communication patterns established before the death occurred. Islamic sources revealed this truth 1,400 years ago. Family behavior after death directly impacts the departed soul's spiritual experience. The departed can see everything but change nothing. They watch their legacy honored or destroyed, their values upheld or abandoned, their family united or fractured. Which experience is being prepared for your soul? If this opened your eyes, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We share spiritual truths you won't find anywhere else. Don't let the algorithm decide if you see our next video. Your spiritual knowledge is too important. Share this with someone who needs it. It could change their life.